We can't ignore the grift. We got to use it against the Republicans. Donald Trump stealing money from the American people, lining his pockets with money that he made by being president, turning the White House into an annex of the Trump organization. We have multiple examples. The Rose Garden being paved over and desecrated by Donald Trump. Who paid for that? The $200 million ballroom modeled after the Mar-a-Lago ballroom that's going to be attached to the White House. Who's paying for that? Which foreign entities are going to corrupt further our political system by paying for that ballroom? Why is it being done? I haven't even touched on the Qatar $400 million, soon to be $1 billion out-of-pocket expense for the American people, so Donald Trump can have a gaudy gold plane he can take with him when he ends his term. We cover it all on the Midas Touch Legal AF podcast. And here's a clip.
And then even I'd love to chat about this as well with you, Popok. Let's bring Popok in. That plan by Trump to destroy the East Wing of the White House and build a 90,000 square foot ballroom without congressional approval, totally changing what the White House looks like. And then Trump's trying to get around congressional approval by saying he's going to solicit private donations for it, Popok. And I think that makes it worse, in a violation of the emoluments clause and a lot of other anti-bribery laws. And Trump didn't rule out taking money from the Middle East and others to rebuild the White House. That's what's happening right now in the United States of America.
But we had that as an end. But I'm going to back
with that. Let's start with that.
I'm going to back into that. He already scarred the Capitol building, leading the Jan 6 insurrection. But that wasn't enough for Bob the Builder, our president of the United States. 24-karat gold leafing every room in the White House, making it a gaudy Trump hotel on the casino strip is not enough for him. Is not enough for him. Now he's going to have there's two. You actually are being kinder than normal. He already paved over the Rose Garden, reducing. You can hear the spinning of Jackie Kennedy Onassis in her grave, having given us the crab apples and the beautiful Rose Garden as a meditative place and a place for press conferences and the rest. But Donald Trump has this weird thing about women and their high heels. It's always a tell for Donald Trump, if you know what I mean. And so women get their high heels caught in the grass of the Rose Garden. So he literally bulldozed it over and put concrete everywhere there used to be grass. We now have a parking lot in the back of the White House where there once was a Rose Garden. And along the drainage paths are the U.S. flag and then seals of the president in each corner. It's so bad that Four Seasons Total Landscaping, the famous site of Rudy Giuliani's press conference about the stolen election, posted on their social media that they took a 2-minute moment of silence about the Rose Garden. So he does that. And then for the same reason, women getting their high heels stuck in the grass and him not liking tents, he's now building a $200 million, forget that, double the number, $400 million 90,000 square foot ballroom where once stood the East Wing, modeled after Mar-a-Lago with gold chandeliers and all, tearing down the very symmetry and look, scarring the White House forever, because I'm sorry, no president in the future is going to tear that down. In order for him to leave his mark like any dictator. This is Stalin putting up his own statues and paintings. This is North Korea doing the same thing, Putin doing the same thing. This is the playbook of dictators. You put up giant edifices to your ego that we have to live with until we tear down Saddam Hussein's statue after he's toppled. And it's not okay that he is effing with the living embodiment of our democracy around the world is the White House. And now I got to look at a crappy Ramada Inn ballroom and a parking lot for valet cars where there once was the beauty of the White House.
A lot of people who are high up in politics, let's just say, ask me why I think it's such a big deal. And I said, symbols matter. And it's like Donald Trump taking a piss on the people's house. And to me, it encapsulates all of the other unlawful acts, criminal acts, dictatorship stuff that he's doing. And the fact that he promised to make housing more affordable, he promised to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. He's still claiming right now that he solved inflation and that everything we see when we go to stores is just our imagination. And actually, there is no inflation at all taking place. And we, of course, know that not to be the case. But then they have this announcement. Donald Trump is going to do a ballroom in the White House. He has selected an architect. You know, and I'm watching that. You know, that's my Caroline Levitt impression right there. And Newsom's social media team did a great Hunger Games style post. While all the districts pay extra for groceries and everyday goods, the White House is excited to announce that the Capitol is creating a grand ballroom for opulent parties. May the odds be in your favor. I mean, honestly, it's exactly like that. And I believe it's unlawful. I believe it's a violation of the emoluments clause. You know, so what is, are foreign countries going to bid on building, you know, or having their names? Is it going to be like the way they have the Live Golf tournament sponsored by the Saudis? Is it going to be the Saudi East Wing or the Qatari East Wing?
He's lying about who's paying for it. He said originally, and she announced it, the Hunger Games lady announced it, that this was going to be paid for by, quote unquote, Donald Trump and donors. And then when he was asked about it, because he can't keep the lie straight, he said, oh, it'll be me and others or whatever. It's the whatever part that troubles our audience and taxpayers, because we're just like the whatever of who just paid to have the Rose Garden demolished. I never thought I would beg to go back to Melania's destruction of the sacred space of the Rose Garden in the first term and those blood red Christmas trees. But that, compared to what he's done now, is a whole nother thing. We paid for that. We're going to end up paying for this. Or as you said, Ben, it's up for sale, influence peddling all over again at the White House. It happens every day. Why? Qatar gave us a $400 million plane as a gift directly to Donald Trump and a bribe. So maybe it'll be the Qatari ballroom.
Yeah. And by the way, the Senate took a vote this past week at the request of Democratic Senator Chris Murphy, who said, look, this plane should be blocked. We know it now costs $1 billion. But Murphy says, we know all of you MAGA Republicans support him having this plane. But here's the amendment that I want to make. Even though we don't want that plane, we don't want $1 billion going into it. Just can we all agree that after $1 billion of American taxpayers are put into this Qatari jet, that Donald Trump doesn't get to keep it as a personal gift to himself when he leaves the White House? Can we all just agree to that amendment? That if the American people are building it, that it stays with the American people and future presidents. We would think not a controversial amendment. All of the Republicans voted that down. And they said, we are giving it. No. That's Trump's jet. And that's why, though, you can't have any rational conversation with this Republican Party today, because they are no different than the political party that exists in North Korea or that exists in Russia. It's not just that they're a rubber stamp, Popok. These are broken human beings who are willing, for their own power and job, to sell out this country.
Yeah, listen. I never thought I'd say that the Qataris were more ethical than Donald Trump. But in my reporting that I went up on a hot take or the intersection, they are the ones that wanted language included in the agreement between the United States and Qatar that the plane would stay with the United States Air Force. And who redlined it out? Donald Trump through Pete Hegseth, because he has no intention of keeping that plane. So here's what's going to just touch on the Qatari plane, Rose Garden, ballroom segment that we're doing here, which is important because you're right, symbols do matter and taxpayer dollars matter. The Qatari plane is going to cost $1 billion to retrofit. It's going to be done a year and a half later. He's going to have a year to use it. In the meantime, right behind it is 2 other Air Force Ones that are being built. The contracts haven't been canceled. The money's already been spent with Boeing of over $3 billion. So what? We're going to have like 4 Air Force Ones at one point. So of course, Donald Trump's going to say, well, we don't need 4 Air Force Ones. I'll take one with me to the Trump library. So, and then of course, they put language in the MOU. We always say we always joke in our world, the world of law and defense cases, follow the money. And if somebody says it's not about the money, it is exactly about the money. So they actually wrote language that said nothing in this transaction should be construed by anybody as a bribe, foreign corrupt practices. It's exactly a bribe and foreign corrupt practices. That's why you put the language in there. Welcome back. Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Join us on the Midas Touch Legal AF podcast on the Midas Touch Network. You can watch us doing it on YouTube. We just had 300,000 people do that. That's important. Sending more people our way on YouTube, important. Coming on over to the audio podcast, which is Spotify and Apple and the rest. Download us there. We could use more downloads over there. Some comments, some 5-star reviews. This helps keeps us on the air, keeps the lights on. Of course, come on over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel, Legal AF MTN, that I, Michael Popok, that I curate for you. 12 videos a day, all at the intersection of law and politics and the protection of our democracy. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.